Alright guys, it's time to do a little bit of repotting. I have a lady who messaged me about one of my plants. I'll show you which one. It's a really popular plant that a lot of people like, and I think it's because the bloom is so interesting. Technical name is called Huernia zebrana. I call it a lifesaver plant. And this is why they call it the lifesaver plant. Is that not just so cool? And there's quite a few different plants in this family that produce blooms like this. Or I would say similar to that. That one is very unique. They say that the blooms smell like rotting flesh or garbage, but this one, I never noticed the smell on it at all. Basically, it's to attract like flies, so they will like fertilize the plant, but be rest assured it doesn't smell like that. It really doesn't. And I've had some of the bigger stapelias, which I do have. They don't bloom as frequent as this one, and they have a really cool, really big bloom. And I have noticed a little bit of a smell on those, but nothing bad. Like I can walk in my greenhouse and not smell it unless I go right up to it, and I've never had flies on it or anything like that. So, but they're really cool plants. Me and my neighbor, he has a greenhouse too, so we have shared them back and forth. I'm trying to find one. Got to get organized here. There's stuff like hiding everywhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this one right here produces that really cool bloom. I haven't had a bloom from it yet this year. Probably needs to be repotted and given a little bit of a boost, some fertilizer, and hopefully we'll get some blooms. And a lot of times as the season changes, sometimes it'll bump those things into bloom. But in here, I would say it's definitely not a zone 7 like it is out here. I live in East Tennessee, and this is zone 7A, 7B, right on the cusp. What can't live out here can live inside my greenhouse. I keep it heated all winter. But anyways, I have a lady coming, so I do starts all the time, not as frequently as I should, because this is a very sought after little plant. So I try to put them in these little 2-inch pots. Sometimes I just use little medicine cups, mouthwash cups, or whatever from the grocery store. And I'll just plop one of them down in there and then root it and try to offer them for sale because they're hard to find. Like I had to order that one off Etsy years ago, and so I just try to keep it going. Basically, I make a succulent mix. That's what they like. And I'll show you how I do that. I try to keep just a running mixture going, and I'm out. I love these little feed and seed buckets. That's where I keep my soils. I got these at Rural King. They're not cheap, but they've held up very, very, very good. So this is river sand. I buy it locally and usually just go take a bucket over there and they'll fill it up for me. But, I mean, I guess you can buy it by the truckloads. I don't know. I don't need that much. It goes a good distance. And I mix it maybe, let's say, you can do 50-50. Sometimes I'll do like 60-40, 70-30, still does fine. I mean, yeah, so it's not an exact science, but succulents like a very good draining soil, or their roots will rot. And then you've got a problem on your hands when that happens. So you want to make sure that succulents are not overwatered. There are some techniques in doing that. One of them is just stick your finger down to the soil, and if it's wet at all, do not water them. You need to wait till the soil is completely dried out before you water them, and they can even go a few days. I will say this right here has been a lifesaver for some of my soils. It's just like a moisture meter, and I can stick it down in through like rocks and gravel and things like that, and it just tells me if the soil's moist, then don't water them because they don't need it. What I'm gonna do is wet this just a little bit because it's very dusty. And right now we have like, let me turn the fan off. I forgot the fan was on. It can be very noisy on my video. I hope it was not noisy. So I have this little sprayer right here, which I love. My neighbor gave it to me. He's very sweet about doing stuff like that. I usually watch his, a lot of times when I house sit for him, he'll give me something, which he doesn't have to do, but this thing is really handy. And I usually wet the soil down that I'm working with a little bit, just so it's not so dusty. I'm going to put these in little medicine cups, and these don't have draining holes in the bottom, so I normally just puncture them. Just want to make sure you got a hole in the bottom that things can drain. Now, if you find a cute pot somewhere that does not have a hole in the bottom of it, you can put succulents in them. I have done that. I have some like that. But I also have raised succulents for a while, so I kind of know how much water to give them. So what you want to do if you have something that does not have a draining hole in it, when it comes time to watering, use the same technique that I told you earlier. To know how much water to put in it is you take your container, put half the volume of your container in water in the plant. So about that much water is all it would take to water this if it did not have a drainage hole. In order to start new ones from these plants, it's super easy. Literally, it doesn't take too much in doing so. So this plant right here is obviously one of them, and I have it just laying on sand. You can lay them on top of sand, they will root in. So what I do is I take a long piece like this and I twist it off. And as you can see, it's already got roots growing. Put that down into the soil and it'll root. Now when you take a new plant and you break it off like that, you're fixing to propagate it. If it does not have roots, you do not want to take that and put it directly in the sun. You want to put it in a dappled sunlight area, maybe where it gets morning sun. That's very less harsh on the plant, because if you put it in the direct sun and it's trying to make roots, recipe for disaster. You don't want to do that. You may want to lay it just in an indirect lighting area. See, this part of my greenhouse is indirect light. It's covered, but it gets light from over here. So this is a very useful area of my greenhouse. If you're thinking about doing a greenhouse and you can do a shaded part of one, definitely go for it. This is an adjoining greenhouse. It faces southeast, which is perfect because it gets most of the sun on this side during the day, and I also have an area that I can put stuff that needs shade. So if half of the stuff in here would not live if it was in full sun, just wouldn't do it. And, you know, give it time. Some plants root quicker than others. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. They're all different. It could be also depending on the season and how much light they've got, the temperature. And also, you don't want to go ahead and start watering a plant that doesn't have roots. You want to wait till it's rooted. Now, if you just have to water it. Some people just have to water. They feel like they need to give it a little bit of water. Take a spray bottle and just spritz it, you know, just a little bit, until it really starts getting definitive roots, and you'll know when you pull on it if it's rooted. So that's what I'm going to do. A lot of times I'll put it over here on this shelf. I call this shelf over here my propagating shelf. It has lights, but obviously they're not as, you know, potent as the sun. A lot of times I'll just stick them over here beside the lights and not directly under them. I do have my lights on a timer, so they're not running 24/7, but it's just really more regulated over here, so it's easier to root stuff. All right, I got some new fresh soil for those. Cleaned up my little tray. So this has been outside all summer, and the pot broke during a storm while we were on vacation. So it's a Hoya, and I let it go outside for the summer, but it's coming back in for the winter. It can't live outside, and it always gives me such cute surprise blooms all throughout the year. So I always look forward to its blooms, but we're gonna stick it down inside another pot until I can get some more clay pots. I really need to stock up on those. I usually keep it like on the underside of a table so it doesn't get too much sun, and it usually does really well. I have another one and it does get direct sun, which it does fine there. I mean, it's also needing some water and some new soil, but it just bloomed recently as well, and the blooms hang down, so sometimes they're hard to see. Here's another one. With plants, you got to kind of learn a balance, especially with a greenhouse, because different areas of the greenhouse are like different zones of weather. And so therefore, I find I'm moving things around even depending on the season. sometimes in the wintertime, I may move stuff over here where it can get more warmth and sunlight. Summertime, it may rotate toward the back. And just some plants just like different conditions, and they're trying to all live in the same place. All right, it's a few days later since I've filmed. We've had a long week. My mother-in-law, she had back surgery, and she got home yesterday and ended up having to go back to the hospital. She got dehydrated and a few other issues, so say a prayer for her. I thought I'd pop back on here and show you guys what I got done with my propagations. I've still got a lot of work to do, and I also wanted to show you my TV stand that Joe got finished with. We put it upstairs in the house, and it turned out really good. So I'll show you guys that real quick before I end this video. So I decided to make a little tray down here because I didn't want to put them under these lamps. Even though they're not the sun, they're still plant lights and they're high output. So I thought it might just be too much for these. So I'm kind of laying them down here in the indirect light. They've been down here, I would say probably 4 days. They're all looking really good. I've only kind of spritzed them once, but they'll take root before too long, and then I'll either move them under here or just maybe kind of on this back side right here, where they'll get good morning sun but not too much light. That was what I finished up. I've got little pots everywhere. I had a couple ladies come and get some of those lifesaver plants I showed you in the beginning of the video. They're pretty popular. I had a bloom, but it went down. You can see where a couple are starting to form, maybe even 3, so that'll be pretty cool. I also need to go in here and feed my fish real quick before we go back inside. My female guppy, she's pregnant. I had her in a little, I guess, maternity ward. Look at them. They saw me come in the door, and they know I come in to feed, and they're just going crazy. Oh, I just love guppies. But I had her in this little maternity ward thing, and oh, there's a little baby fish in there. Okay, I guess it swam in and went through the bottom thing. So what you originally do is you put her in here with a lid, the mama, and then the baby fish go down through here. There's like these little gaps right here that the mama can't fit down, but the babies can. And once the babies go in there, they're safe. And then when the mama's done giving birth, you can leave her out, and you can also take this divider out so the babies can stay in here and grow out until they need a bigger spot, which I have some in here. But I'm gonna feed them before they go crazy. They're in here somewhere. Oh, there's the male guppy. Now here's my pepper shaker. This side is for the little fry because it's ground up really fine, and then a little bit bigger flakes can be for the adults. And now I'm going to have to feed that little one that was actually in the tank that I didn't catch the other day, and it swam in the top because I don't have the lid on because the mama's not in there yet, and it just went down in there, and so well, it's in there now. I've got one that's really good size. It's a little bit bigger than the other two. I don't know if it's going to be a male or female. I'll have to look at it real closely. I don't think she's ready to give birth yet, so I wanted to take her out so she wasn't stuck in that little thing, but she's getting close. Her belly's getting kind of square on the bottom, and once it starts getting that squareness to it, they're not too far away from giving birth. And they give birth to live fish. They're called fry. Okay, let's go in and look at the TV stand. Also, I have a skunk. I have a crazy skunk. It's been getting in my flower beds. It's been digging up stuff. Last night it came in here and dug like a 10-inch hole right there, and there was eggshells in it. I threw some rotten eggs out in the yard from in the basement that went bad. I'm trying to take them to the blessing box in our church, but there was a few that got bad on me. And I threw them out in the yard, and apparently the skunk decided to bring them over here, dig a 10-inch hole, and eat the egg and put the eggshell in it, which I thought was the most bizarre behavior. And it did it over here too. There's one of the eggs left. I've actually filled the hole back in, but like, what? I don't know what that skunk's thought process was, but I don't know. It also dug a hole here, and I actually saw it on the camera last night, so I knew it was the skunk that did it over here with the eggs, but it was over here just making circles. I guess it was digging for ants or something. And if you all watched, I guess, the video before the last one, which was the persimmons winter prediction, we had a hornet video. You need to watch the last two. If you haven't seen the winter prediction from the persimmons tree, watch it. It's the previous one. And then the one before that is a hornet video, which it's kind of comical but crazy as well. Joe ended up throwing a wagon wheel and knocking the hornet's nest off. Well, it's back and it's big. So they've got some plans, which I still think they're kind of crazy. I would prefer to have a professional come and get it, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But here's the hornet's nest, and I'm not getting any closer than this. Y'all see that? That's pretty big. And it's like 7 feet off the ground. So we gotta figure that out. And my zinnias, they look ragged. They really do, but I still have butterflies. So I just really don't want to cut them down yet. But it's not going to be too long because we're out. We're just a month out from a possible frost. So anyways, yep, October's coming. Leaves are going to be changing soon. Eli, my oldest son, and his fiancée Grace are getting married next month. Less than a month now. And a lot of exciting things are on the way. Alright, let's go check out the TV stand real quick. Now we've just got it setting here temporarily because we're gonna make like a little living area and have a TV on it, obviously. Isn't that beautiful? This was old barnwood and my husband brought it back to life. He planed it down and did his magic and stained it. It's an early American stain. And it's just really pretty. He does good work. I like the simplicity of it. Oh, that's something he made me years ago when we first started dating. I've got to hang it up here somewhere. He's a keeper. All right, y'all have a blessed day and see you soon.